All right, welcome to a game day episode of the USFL Power Rankings Podcast 2022 USFL Week 7, and I am NFLOutdated and
I'm Micah.
Well, thanks again for joining us. We have a late season week here that has a lot of implications. Week 6 was another exciting week. Things started to take shape with the playoffs and with teams that are going to be in contention. And we had another collapse from the Gamblers.
Yeah, they've been one of the most disappointing teams this year. They started 1-0 and they lost to the best team barely. I think that we are going to need to make a completion of all their 1-point losses or all the times that they disappointed at the end of the game.
Yeah, and it's tough to see. You want to see a team that's going to get a lead, keep a lead, but if they lose late in the game, you don't want to see that happen over and over again. And something is happening with the Gamblers, and it's really a shame.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic because of their name.
Yeah, they are losing out. They're not gambling correctly.
Yep. Well, they're gambling well in the first half and even the third quarter, but not the fourth quarter. So yeah, we'll quick over Week 6 scores. Stars outdueled the Bandits. I actually watched the end of that game, and I thought the Bandits could pull it off on 4th and goal. It was incomplete, and they could have tied it, but they didn't. And the Stallions beat the Panthers. Yeah, it was close, but then Stallions pulled away. Breakers Maulers, not surprising. And Generals beat the Gamblers. That was another heartbreaking loss. What do you think about that?
Yeah, defensively, at the end there, I thought the Gamblers were going to pull it off. Offensively, they weren't really doing as much, but defensively, they, I thought they were going to, they had a good play, with a defensive score.
Oh yeah, scoop and score.
Yeah, and so I thought that was going to be the difference, but you just had that feeling that the Generals were going to come back and the Gamblers were just going to kind of allow them to do that, and unfortunately they did, and we'll talk a little bit more about kind of specific players on that, but it's really tough for the Gamblers.
Yeah, so we'll get into Week 7 power rankings. So let's get right into it. Number 8, Houston Gamblers. Last time's ranking 7. Yeah, they're 1-5. They have 132 total points scored. Yeah, with that heartbreaking loss, they are pretty much eliminated. There is a small chance, but it's relatively impossible. They would have to win every game left and have the what team is it? The Breakers lose every game that they have left, and it's pretty much impossible. We're to write them off. It's over.
Yeah, it's really tough. You got Chris Odom on defense, who's just been balling out this year, and to see this at the end, just this collapse that they've it's just like we talked about earlier. It's really tough to see when you have standout players, especially on defense. You want them to be rewarded, and unfortunately, the Gamblers have not done that. And so, the Gamblers, maybe they're better than the Maulers, but I definitely see why you put them in the 8th spot here.
Yeah. So that will take us to our next one. Number 7, Pittsburgh Maulers. Last time's ranking 8th. Okay, yeah, they played decently well. I think just because the Gamblers keep collapsing and putting the Maulers at 7, they are not done from the playoffs. They have 76 total points scored. Horrible offense. Yeah, and if they lose this week and the Stars win, then they're done of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of controversy throughout the season, and obviously they got the one win. We'll see what happens the rest of the season, but they've really had a tough overall season. Whether it's players getting kicked off as we've seen, or just on the field, they just are not able to put it together. And we'll see if they can at least finish the season strong and not finish in that final spot, in that 8th spot in the power rankings come at season's end.
Yeah. So that'll take us to our next team, Michigan Panthers. Number 6, Michigan Panthers. Last time's ranking, number 5. Yeah, they're 1-5, 104 total points scored. Great defense. They keep losing. Yeah, same thing with the Maulers. They need one more loss and a Stars win to eliminate them. But if they both win the rest of their games, but I think they play each other, so I don't know if that's possible. The Panthers have the upper edge because the Panthers already beat the Maulers. So the Panthers have a decent chance to make the playoffs, but they need the Stars to start losing. And that missed kick really comes back to haunt them now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much promise. I mean, especially with head coach Jeff Fisher. I mean, you had number 1 overall pick Shea Patterson.
They released him, and
and so just so many disappointing things with this team as well, where they were just there. But Shea Patterson had the crucial interception last. It just. This is another team that you thought was going to put it together, but they didn't. And we brought that up here. Can put it up here. The Panthers then after the game, they released Shea Patterson.
And actually, this week we got a revenge game, New Orleans Breakers and the Panthers, because the Breakers picked him up. And I don't know if they'll start him. I think they might. I mean, they might start him just for the revenge game. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Breakers have Kyle Slaughter, but this would be interesting to at least have him
as a gadget guy. They could use him, run him in for touchdowns. It's kind of like the 49ers used Trey Lance this season.
Oh, that would be a great point. Yeah, and when you look at him, he had the 3rd most passing yards in the league, but just those costly interceptions, and when they have the backup quarterback behind them, now that he's probably not as injured, and it was just Shea Patterson. The experiment is over with the Panthers.
Yep. So take us to our next team, number 5, Tampa Bay Bandits. Last time's ranking 4. Yeah, disappointing loss to the Stars, and they're not done from the playoffs. They're only 1 game behind the playoff spot, but they already lost to the Breakers. So if the Breakers keep winning, and I think that will happen, the Bandits' chances are going to slim off. It's kind of early to write them off, but I feel like the chances aren't very high.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week. Jordan Tamu, the team really kind of going, how he goes, and when you look at what he's done, he's had some good plays and everything, but they're just not able to put it together all together.
Yeah, and I feel like they are. Yeah, they have 112 total points scored. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to. I really don't know what to say about this team, because like they'll look really good one week, then they'll have a disappointing loss like that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that will take us to our next team, unless there's anything you have to say about them.
Nope.
Number 4, Philadelphia Stars. Last time's ranking 6. Moved up pretty big with that win. I honestly was pretty surprised. They came out rumbling on the offense, and they're 3-3, 141 total points scored. Bad defense is the problem. They let up 28, but they scored 35. So yeah, their running back Matt Colburn, he scored 3 TDs. Yeah, I was watching that. I was like, whoa, how is he doing this?
Yeah, what I like about the Philadelphia Stars, I mean, this has become kind of one of my favorite teams. They had their main quarterback go down, still injured, and now they got a backup quarterback that's really leading them, and a lot of it is on their coach. That passing offense and really then adapting and really throwing it there. Matt Colburn has really stepped it up, and you see him, breaking tackles and just, doing the tough work. And that's what you want from a football team. You want, when your stars go down and you have others that step up, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. When your stars go down, the Philadelphia Stars still compete. And if they win this week and the Panthers and the Maulers both lose, they clinch playoff spot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's a great story. I mean, obviously with Case Cookus right now playing it, and we'll see, if Brian Scott can get back for the playoffs. I mean, either way, they've got 2 solid quarterbacks and an awesome head coach that can really make things happen.
Yep. So I'll take us toward number 3. Top 3 have not changed, but I'll let you guys know that. Number 3, New Orleans Breakers. Last time's ranking 3. Yeah, they're 4-2, 136 total points scored. Yeah, big key defensive plays. Yeah, that 97-yard pick 6 by Ike Brown, that's the longest in USFL game this season. I think, is that the longest play overall? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I believe so. When you look at that, I mean, they're really a complete team. When you got Kyle Slaughter, when you got all these, offensive stars, they've got Adams, the receiver. And when you look at this, and then they put the defense there with it, I mean, they're going to be really scary in the playoffs. Obviously Birmingham is a team to beat, but I like the Breakers when it comes to the playoffs as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that'll take us to our next team. Number 2, New Jersey Generals. Last time's ranking 2. Yeah, not much has changed, but they're still 5-1. They would have fallen to 4 or 5 if the Gamblers had beaten them. I'm just putting that out there because they barely survived. I still put them here because they're still better than the Breakers. But I was tempted to put the Breakers ahead of them just because of how close that game was against the Gamblers.
Yeah, a little bit has changed. So when you look at this, the quarterback situation, Luis Perez was, put in late in the game, and the Generals are really interesting because you go with one of the better quarterbacks and bench him, and Luis Perez comes in. He's the one that leads the team on a 15-play 80-yard drive, right? And that's. This is going to be interesting to watch. When you look at some of these solid teams, like even now the Breakers have 2 solid quarterback options, with Shea Patterson and all that. And so some of these top teams have 2 solid quarterbacks that they can kind of cycle in and out. And it's a little bit different from the NFL where you have that one quarterback that's going to lead the team. This, Luis Perez really gave the team a spark when they needed to.
Yep. And the Generals, I feel like, it's probably destined to see number 1 and number 2 face in the playoffs. I mean, you guys all know number 1 is number 1 Birmingham Stallions. Last time's ranking number 1. Yeah, and I think those 2 teams will play each other in the playoffs. They're both clinched in. Well, the Birmingham Stallions are not because they play in a tougher division, but I know for sure that they are clinched in, but I know for sure that the Generals are clinched just because they play in the easier division, and even if there is 4 games left, that the best the Maulers or the Panthers could do is tie with them, and the Generals beat both the Maulers and the Panthers. So,
well. And once again, what I like about some of these top teams that we've talked about is they win in different ways. And with the Stallions, you got Bo Scarborough coming, former Detroit Lions, NFL running back, signed, only a few weeks ago, and now he is just dominating. And they gave him the ball and just kept feeding it. I mean, watching that game was like he was on fire. They just kept giving him the ball, just feeding it to him in all different ways. And he was the one that really led them. And we talked about quarterbacks as well. Jamar Smith is benched here, and still the Stallions were able to win. So when you look at it, I mean, you got these top teams that are really they have a lot of different options, and they don't just win in one way. So they're not one-dimensional, and that's what you need from a football team.
Yeah. And that will pretty much wrap us up. So that'll take us to the week 7 schedule. This has some clinching scenarios. We saw that Generals Bandits. The Bandits, this is a must win for them. The Generals have already clinched the playoffs, but they would still like to eliminate the Bandits, or not completely eliminate, but push the hopes farther back.
Yeah, I would say the Generals, they won their 5th straight game in a dramatic fashion last week, and they haven't lost since week 1, so they're really on fire here. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bandits can kind of go against them.
Yeah. And that'll be interesting. We'll definitely watch that today.
Players to watch on for New Jersey. Keep your eye on wideout Cavante Turpin, who's coming off a 10-catch, 106-yard performance against Houston. He could be developing into a star there.
Yeah. So that'll take us to our next game. Breakers versus at the Panthers. I mean, home teams don't really matter that much yet.
No, especially it's all in Birmingham. Yep.
So Breakers at the versus the Panthers. That's late tonight. That's at 8:00. And that will be interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, Michigan's lost 3 in a row. I mean, they really need this game to really turn their season around, right?
If they lose tonight, then you could say their season is. If they lose tonight, then it's over. Their season's done. That would eliminate them, and then Stallions Maulers, same thing. If the Stallions win, which they probably will, this would be the biggest upset in history of the league if the Maulers pull this off. But if they want to stay alive, they have to. That will be tomorrow at 1. And finally, Stars Gamblers, big game. I think that the Gamblers are technically not out, but they pretty much are. If they want to stay in the possible playoff scenario, they would have to win.
Mm-hmm.
And with how competitive the division is, even if they win off the rest of their games, I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this game. So players to watch in this Philadelphia game, linebacker Jordan Moore. He's just been amazing to watch. Former Big 12 and SEC 110 meter hurdler, 37 tackles, 2 sacks. When you look at the Philadelphia defense, and that's going to be important for them there against the Gamblers to set the tone.
Yeah, and that'd be pretty interesting. So that will be tomorrow night at 5. I don't know if we have predictions, just because I kind of just want to watch the game, see who's going to win. I'm not going to predict anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a fun season, and it's going to be, coming down to the wire to see who's going to be in the playoffs. We kind of know, we talked about that, but it is fun to kind of watch and just see these top teams all, take shape, and playoffs are going to be fun. I mean, this is some great football. I've been excited to watch this inaugural USFL season.
Yep. Stay tuned for more NFL, possibly XFL, USFL, any sports content that we might do in the future. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I am Micah, and this is
NFL Outdated. Thanks again for joining us.